Welcome to the Coriolis Effect with Cory Oliver.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver. Thanks for watching the Coriolis Effect. Please hit the subscribe button below, and we hope you like this episode.
This episode is sponsored by Dice Throne, where Yahtzee meets Magic the Gathering, a fast and fun board game for all ages. In this fast-paced strategic game of card play and dice manipulation, Dice Throne can be played one-on-one or with up to 6 players. Players select one of 8 heroes to face off in a head-to-head battle to see who will take the throne. Gameplay involves strategically rolling dice to activate special abilities, playing unique hero cards to manipulate results, and upgrading your hero board to power up your stats. And now, there's Marvel Dice Throne, playable with some of your favorite Marvel comic heroes like Black Widow, Captain Marvel, Spider-Man, Black Panther, Scarlet Witch, Thor, Loki, and Doctor Strange. Dice Throne's Kickstarter for its Marvel Edition is now active. Click the link in the description and help support Dice Throne's Marvel Universe Edition.
Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Cory. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
I
You just gonna throw that napkin on the table?
Well, it was not a napkin, it was a tissue, so let me see if I can slam dunk
Try to
it.
make it. Do you know what the word
Yes,
slam dunk means?
I did. It's on the table.
You know what? Hold on. Just so I'm going to have to take a picture of this with my camera.
My aim was for the wheat thin box, and I hit the wheat. It rebounded off the wheat thin box, and it landed on the table.
Yes, that is your slam dunk from, how far are you away? About 7, 8, 10 feet away?
Yes, but it hit the wheat thin box, I will say that.
Is it the backboard?
Go wheat thins. That is not one of our sponsors. I would like, but I do like them.
Yes.
I went to go see a movie this weekend.
Yeah? In the actual movie theater?
In an actual movie theater.
First time in?
A long time.
18 months, 20 months?
Pretty much.
At least, yeah.
Yes. And, of course, they make you, it's a requirement to wear the mask to the seat. And then once you're sitting in the seat, it's a recommendation. But this is not about the mask. This is actually about the movie. And it was a fantastic movie. You would love it. It's called The Jesus Music. Having said that, it's really not just about Jesus music, but let me back up for one second.
It's about Jesus' band, right? Teenage Jesus and the Twisters?
No, it's...
By the way, that was a band I had in high school, Teenage Jesus and the Twisters.
Really?
Yeah.
Fun fact about Bob. You could have led with that 2 of our episodes that we had our questionnaires about.
Jesus, the Bible doesn't talk about Jesus from like age 12 to 33. Right. He was in a couple bands.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's where he met some of the apostles.
Okay. All right. Well, fair enough. But I want to preface this by saying this is how God works, because
you just went right over my story like you didn't believe me.
I do believe you.
No, you didn't. Okay, let's talk about something I want to talk. Go ahead, Cory.
All right, never mind. We'll just go with your opening.
All I'm going to say is...
Great, Bob. You're great, Bob.
Oh, my goodness. The sound bites that are coming from this episode, or from this show, is unbelievable.
Just talk and don't say anything. Move your mouth.
Great, Bob.
Okay.
You're great, Bob.
This is a really important story, though,
okay,
because this is how God works in my life. 5 days before going to see this movie, Russell Hantz called out of the blue.
Okay.
We had him on the show. He's the villain on Survivor. Everyone knows about him. And he literally basically said, from the time I was 16 years old, I've had this vision, this dream.
Time he was 16 years old.
Yes.
Okay.
This vision, this dream to have a free concert with Christian bands.
Does he play?
And have it be free. No.
Okay.
And have it be free. And he went on to this whole thing. And he didn't know about this movie, The Jesus Music. He didn't know what Billy Graham had done. And here's the important part. This is going to be a little confusing, but it's very worth listening to. So he said, I would like Jimmy Swaggart to be a part of this. And I was like, whoa, okay, So cut to, we had this long conversation about it. We talked about the venue. We talked about the bands. We talked about all the people that we both knew that we could compile to have this, revival.
And amazing. Jimmy Swaggart?
Listen.
Oh, it's a wonderful life.
No,
that's the other Jimmy.
Yeah, nice try though. But listen, this is the really
interesting. Jimmy Stewart, right?
Yes. Okay, this is the interesting part. I have that conversation with him. It was about an hour conversation. It was really amazing. It was just like, that sounds like a great idea, right? He wanted to get Joel Osteen's venue. He's got it all planned out. And I, of course, I'm going to jump on board because I love God and I'm in it. So I go see this movie like 5 days later, and it has a lot of information about Christian bands and the history of Christian music. And, Amy Grant was in it, the Newsboys are in it, Kirk Franklin's in it, a lot of people are in it. But there's one portion in this movie that really stuck out for me. And it was, there's a band named Stryper. I know you know who they are. They were secular music. The singer of the band goes on to tell the story in this Jesus music movie that he was sitting in front of the TV with his family one day, and Jimmy Swaggart came on the TV, and he basically gave his life over to God and Christ. And from that point on, the band turned into this Christian rock band. And, they show video of them passing out Bibles to their concerts and everything, and they're hardcore rock, like they're a rock band. And then later in this documentary, he says, that he turned on the TV one day and there's Jimmy Swaggart with their record basically saying this is devil worshiping music. Yes.
Wait, who's Jimmy Swaggart's?
Yes.
Ah.
And so in this documentary, I was in tears because I thought, I bet you Jimmy Swaggart would break his heart to know that I understand people are led by the Spirit and in that moment. But then I'm cutting back to the conversation I had with Russell and how he wanted Jimmy Swaggart to be at this revival. And I was just like, it blew my mind. I guess just because the way it all happened within like 1 week. So I'm on a crusade to have this concert happen. And I would love to see Jimmy Swaggart there, and maybe even Stryper. They're playing and performing together, because I think right now, especially, we just need unity, which I know I took up a lot of time this morning in the opening, but this kind of leads me into our first guest today.
Well, by the way, that was my problem with Christian musicians.
Mm-hmm.
Christian music is fine. It's a genre of music like any other genre, and I like it. In college, we were playing a show, and we had a show at Friday night somewhere and Saturday night at a bar, but then we were asked to play a Saturday concert in the park.
Mm-hmm.
So there were several bands playing the concert, and I asked the press, I said, do you mind? I don't want to break down my gear, go to the show, and then have to reset up my gear. I said, can we borrow one of the other band's gear? Just, a piano and organ and everything else. So I called up the band right after us or before us, whatever. And I said, look, you're going to be on stage. Can we just use your stuff? And he said, well, we're Christian rock and we don't let anybody play our music that doesn't play Christian rock, play our instruments. I'm like, so and this was 80s pop,
Yeah.
So if I play Bryan Adams on your piano, it's going to ruin your piano. He said, we won't allow that music to be played on our instruments. That was my problem with Christian music, is they take it too far. Like, it's our music and no others. So,
well, this particular movie, the Jesus music, takes you through the trajectory of how it went from hymnals into, punk and Christian and country. And Amy Grant sort of was a pioneer in letting that happen. And, one of the things that I'll say, and I don't want to...
Mr. Mister. Their songs are very religious.
They had all kinds of bands sit down and do interviews, and certain ones made this movie. But the long and short of it is, and I say this all the time, and she says this too, she says, we're all really messy just trying to share our message. Yeah. And so I just thought, wow, the timing of that was so cool, how Russell had called and just had this out of the blue, well, not out of the blue, he's been thinking of it since he was 16, free concert. And by the way, let me just say this, Billy Graham was instrumental in the hippie generation and those concerts and having Christian music at those concerts. And they had this big, giant, it's in the movie. I don't want to spoil it all. Yeah. Concerts, right? Yes. And so I thought, how cool would it to have his son, Franklin, I'm just saying, do this current one. All
right. So who's the guy on the show today?
So it actually kind of leads me into our first guest. And one of the reasons why I just wanted to talk to him so bad was because his name's Andrew Drew Taylor. And he is doing America's United Tour, which is a 3-day tour that will come into your city, and they're singing and dancing and NASCAR and barbecues and games, and it's like a family event that, I'm always saying children spell love, Time, and it's a way to bring people together. But he said he wanted to, and on his website it says this, that he wanted to foster unity, which is your and my whole goal for this show. And so I'm really excited to talk to him today and to find out more about that. He's an inventor, innovator, and a visionary.
What did he invent? You don't know. I don't know.
I don't.
Oh, well, let's ask him.
Yes. Actually, I do know.
He
I
made
have
that
all
little
my
thing
notes.
on the windshield wiper that makes a time delay. He made millions and millions of dollars on that.
He has
That's the guy.
seven utility patents. He's produced 6 radio shows, 2 television shows. He's written 2 books. He's published.
No, he invented the on-off knob on the radio. I think that's what he did.
For those of you who are just
he invented that thing
in,
on the gate. You know when you pump your gas and you put that little lever up to keep it pumping while you walk away? He invented that little
how
lever.
come I don't have buttons? I like buttons that are. I just want one button.
A mute button?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, Bob.
You don't need a mute button. I like
Read
what you
my
say.
mind. Like the big, the Staples button that's whatever.
Yeah.
It just says mute.
He invented
Mute
the
Bob.
third leg
Only.
of a tripod. I think that was his thing.
Okay.
They used to have a dupod and he kept falling down and he came along and invented the third leg and then the guy made millions.
My eyes twitching.
Twitch?
Yeah.
That's that from the Pink Panther? Who was, not Inspector Clouseau. Who was the other guy? His boss who kept
Kato.
twitching. No, Kato was the guy who used to fight him. His
I
boss.
want to just say this for the
You don't
sake
know.
of
You're changing
argument.
the subject because you don't know. I don't know
No,
either.
I'm just like, why
Anybody out there, put in a comment, who was the name of Inspector Clouseau's boss that kept twitching his eye on the Pink Panther? Go ahead. Go ahead, Cory. I'll mute. You can do that, but the people in the podcast can't hear you be mute. So
I know, but we're 9 minutes into this opening, and I'd love to get to these. These poor people are like, oh,
I'll rewind the clock.
I feel terrible. Okay. Anyway, I do want to say this though, for the sake of just saying this.
We got to go. Sorry.
We do love all of our listeners, and we're grateful for all of you, and we're so excited to say that we are over a couple million views and in less than 8 months. And I want to thank all of you. We're grateful.
We're even more grateful to the person who can answer who was Inspector Clouseau's boss on the Pink Panther.
But we do love you.
First one who gave me that, I will send all of the. You send me your name, and I'll do all of the I loves and put your name on it from Cory. To be I love Juan or I love Frederick.
I will not do that. So
Yes,
I'm
you don't
so
have
sorry.
to. I'll do it. I can do it.
That's weird.
No,
A little
I'll figure
weird.
out a way to get you to say their name just in passing.
No,
And then I'll
that's
put them
not
all
okay,
together.
and I do not approve this message.
It's going to happen.
See you soon.
Bye-bye. This episode is sponsored by Brizo Healthy Fruit Tonic. With Manuka honey and apple cider vinegar, less than 4 grams of sugar, and under 35 calories per can, each of Brizo's 4 flavors not only taste great, they are an excellent source of vitamin C. Brizo boosts your immune system and is great for your post-workout recovery. Brizo, available on Amazon and at brizo.com.
Yes, good morning. Your email, I'm not sure what your email is. I don't
Hey,
have
let's
a ton
start the
of it.
show.
I knew you were doing that. I knew it. He likes to cut me off.
I do not
Good morning.
like to cut you off
Welcome,
whenever you speak.
welcome to the
And I'll stop
Coriolis
now.
Effect. Andrew Taylor, otherwise known as Drew Taylor, is on the podcast today, and I'm very excited because guess what I have? I'm going to actually, in the spirit of Drew Taylor,
You go, girl.
I can't hear. That's it.
Hello?
Is it crooked? Is my head crooked?
Yeah, it's your head.
Oh, yes.
The hat's straight. Your head's crooked.
Is it? It seems like it is. You know what? We actually are very, very politically correct right now. I love it. Good morning.
Good morning or good
I
afternoon.
can't
here.
hear him.
I'm in Texas.
Oh, you're in
Hello,
Texas.
hello.
That's
All right,
right.
it's 12:14 here, too. It's also afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm sorry. I'm just waking up.
dyslexic.
No, I'm just waking up. First of all, we start the show off with a word of the day that
Why
we're
don't
going
we
to.
introduce the guest?
I did.
Why don't? Not in the show. You did in the intro.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning. I did. I said we have
Who's producing the show?
Andrew Taylor, otherwise known as Drew Taylor, and he is an inventor, an innovator, and a visionary. And I cannot wait to share some of this information with you because he doesn't quite know this 100% yet, but he and I share the same exact vision as well as Bob. And that is to foster unity throughout the world. And so we're going to talk about his America's Tours, Americans Tour United .com that he is putting together. Just, it is incredible. And I can't wait to share with you some of the events, ideas and things that are coming to pass. But now I'm getting a word from my producer that we have a word. And we bet before the show that I couldn't guess it. But I have a feeling that Drew Taylor is going to guess this word of the day. So,
Okay, Drew. We have a word of the day every day. It's a phobia word. I'm going to play the word twice. I'm going to spell the word. I bet Cory 100,000 to 1 that she will not know the meaning of this word. I will offer you the same bet. If you're wrong, you owe me $1. If I'm wrong, I will give you $100,000. And the word is...
Please guess it, Drew.
Arachibutyrophobia.
Okay, first of all, that's an odd pronunciation.
What?
Arachibutyrophobia.
Okay, it is arachibutyrophobia. ARACHIBUTYRO phobia. Arachibutyrophobia.
Let's see. Arachibutyrophobia. It's
Tyrophobia.
It's fear of parachuting. Fear of parachuting.
Cory, for $100,000.
Either fear of, I get 3 guesses because it's my show.
Guesses.
I get 100 guesses. Let's see, fear of acrobats, dinosaurs, cheetahs, or okay, that's my 3.
I'm just going to keep
Okay, what is it?
It's gonna be all
What
right.
is it?
Any other guesses? I'll tell you what. Right now, I'll give you each one more guess. $200,000.
Fear of Bitcoin.
Drew?
It's fear of drinking tea.
You're going to be so upset when you get this because
Can you just tell
right
us what
in the
it
name.
is?
It's the fear of peanut butter sticking to the roof of your mouth.
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's the first one that you have that actually I think is hilarious. There's a word
Out of
for
70.
everything. There's a word for everything, Drew. Mr. Taylor. Well, we want to welcome you to the Coriolis effect
Great,
today.
Bob. You're great, Bob.
Sorry.
Can we?
That's enough said.
Okay.
Cory, I have to ask you a question. Cory, who's in charge?
I'm actually in charge today. Bob's on one, so
Bob's a decision maker.
yeah, I'm actually in charge.
No, what he means
Doesn't-
is who does he send a bill to?
It doesn't seem like it, but yeah,
$1 to. Who do I send the $1 to?
I know. Good morning. Good morning. I'm saying to you. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, yes. Yeah, no, I can hear you fine.
Oh, yeah,
yes.
no, I'm talking to you. And now he's done. We're done with Bob.
Okay.
It's you and I, Drew. And I really want to talk a lot today about this Americans United tour. We originally started this show because we wanted to unite people around the world. We saw what was going on during this pandemic, and it was, it was happening obviously before, but not to this degree, where people have been so diversely pitted against each other. And I absolutely I was going through your website, and I love the vision that you have. And as I said, you are an inventor, an innovator, and a visionary. You have, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have 7 patents. You produce 6 radio shows, 2 television shows. You've written 2 books. You've published poet and writing. And you have a book, which was really stuck out for me, even though my child is you're writing a book on raising children. Maybe you've. And I always say they don't come with a handbook. So I love the fact that you're writing a book.
Yeah. I raised 2 sons as a single father from the time they were 8 and 9. And my wife she'd never worked, and she'd been their primary influence. And I'm a big kid. I'll never grow up. I actually hit 61 this month.
Oh my gosh, you do not look 61. But hey, what date was it?
October 18th.
Oh, October 18th. Okay, because mine was last. So happy belated birthday.
It's coming up.
Oh, I thought he said I reached it.
The 18th is next Monday.
Oh, so I'm early. Happy
No, she
birthday.
meant for last year.
Yeah.
You were late for last year.
Yes,
378
yeah, exactly.
days.
That's right. Yeah. So let me tell you, I'm I'm glad we have time to do this because I'm a storyteller. Okay, for better or for worse. And by the way, there's nothing looks more beautiful to me than a woman in a cowboy hat.
Thank you, sir.
So,
Thank you very much.
Cowboy.
Can you turn my sound up tiny? Thank you. I love it. I'm a cowgirl at heart, to
Absolutely.
be
And
honest.
I started-
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone should be. Everyone should be able to spend a little bit of time on a farm. It would change their perspective on life.
Their whole
You know,
life.
But
I
not
agree.
a feedlot. Right?
No, not
a
a feedlot. No, that's a whole different experience. Yeah, so I actually, after raising my kids, and I was so afraid because I was traveling, I was franchising one of the companies I was franchising, and I was so afraid my kids, they were junior high, about to get in, they were elementary when I took them, and then junior high and high school, and I was so afraid they were going to get in trouble that I had to do something creative to keep these kids from going out and going off into an area that all parents are afraid of. And so I'm being an inventor, and I will tell you, I barely graduated high school because I was chasing pretty girls and money. I'm not lying. And so when I got out of high school, pretty quickly got married, and then I'm autodidact. And so I'll go toe to toe with about anybody on any topic. I was single. I was married 16 years, had my 2 boys, single for 10 years. I've been married to my soulmate for 17 years.
Wow. How encouraging is that? That's beautiful. I love that.
You only missed that by 16
Yeah.
years.
So there is
24 days.
I did. Hey, listen, when you hear success stories like that is encouraging to those of us out there that, have not necessarily had that. That's a beautiful thing. And I love that. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, in doing the things that I've done, and trust me, although I am an inventor, they say that necessity is the motherhood of invention. I will say that laziness is the motherhood of invention, because almost everything people invent is an easier way to do something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the grammar.
And so I tell people I'm one of the hardest working lazy people that you're ever going to meet. And especially with this tour going on, I wake up about 2:00 in the morning. And it's funny, as the whole mission of this began to morph into what it is today, celebrating the best of America and bringing people together to celebrate the things that we all agree on, instead of fighting about the few things we disagree on. And that's what we've come to do.
I always tell people on this, it is sad, and I tell people on the show, children spell love, Time. And this is one of those events that stuck out for me, because you get to spend time with your kids at this event, singing and dancing, and there's NASCAR, and there's barbecue, and there's games, and it's like a 3-day event, and it just reminds me of those
county fairs?
Kind of, in a way that I used to go all the time as a kid and with my family. And those were some of my best memories. And this just had that same feeling of unity, and all walks of life are welcome and are embraced, and we can come together instead of being so pitted against each other. So I love it. I would love to fly out to Texas.
I tell you, and I make no bones about it. No, you have to. Yeah. You're going to have to come out here. Now, listen, we're going all over the country, so you can come to any or all of them that you want to. We're actually we own a production company and a broadcast network. We have several things that are coming with us. But we're producing, as it is right now, 11 television shows during this tour.
Wow.
So 11 episodes or 11 different shows?
11 different shows, an episode every week.
Okay, so 11 episodes
we'll
of
be
the show.
doing,
oh, very nice.
Oh, no, sir. An episode every week, 11 different television shows.
So 11 episodes a week.
So yes, 11 episodes a week, yes. But different shows. So right now there's an e-gaming show, there's a cooking show, there's a car show, there's racing. We're doing a racing show. We're doing a comedy show. We're doing an inventor show. I actually was doing Shark Tank in 1999.
Oh, wow.
I founded the Inventors Group in San Antonio in 1997, and we would mentor inventors. And we did it very successfully. The only thing is we didn't invest in them. We just mentored them, helped them find the money, manufacturing, marketing, distribution. And we did it very, very successfully.
So where are these shows going to air?
Well, right now we own a broadcast network, and if you look up Flix, Flix,
I did.
Media, media.com. Yeah, so Flix Media shows our shopping network and broadcast network and our radio and shows video on. And so then if you go to flix.net, flixx.net, there's 22,000 radio stations. There's a bunch of video on demand. There's my show and a bunch of other shows. And so they will be broadcast there. And we need to have your show on there, Cory.
Yes. Let's do it.
Heartbeat.
Yes.
I got 70 episodes all ready to go.
Yes. Well, I was thinking we could do with this America's United tour.
Yes. And
I was just thinking we could show up and videotape it. Yeah. Go ahead. There's a delay, and I'm sorry.
Yes. That's exactly what you should do. Yeah. So listen, if you think about, and I've watched this, so I will tell you, a little bit of my background. I'm one of 7 boys. I am the middle child of 7 boys raised on a little farm south of San Antonio. Started milking my own cow at 5 years old. And one day I was 14 and my dad had a very staunch set of rules. And so I've got 3 older brothers, 3 younger brothers, all born in 11 years. And the rules at our house was when you were 12, you could stay up till 9 o'clock. Prior to that, you had to go to bed by 8. So 12 to 14, you could stay up till 9. Once you hit 15, you could stay up till 10. Once you had a job, you could stay up as late as you wanted.
That's right.
So I'm a month away from being, I'm a month away from being 15 when my 2 older brothers are talking about watching The Twilight Zone, which comes on at 9 o'clock. And so I went to my dad and I said, Daddy, can I stay up and watch Twilight Zone Friday night with Mike and Steve? And he said, what time's it come on? And I said, 9 o'clock. He said, how old are you? And I said, I'm 14. I said, but I'll be 15 in 2 weeks. He said, well, when you're 15, you can stay up to and watch Twilight Zone. And I said, Daddy, you're unfair to me. I said, you're unfair to me. He said, what do you mean? I said, I'm the only one milks a cow. I do all the plowing, all the shredding. I help with the planting. I do everything else the other boys do. And it's unfair. And he said, Drew, if I didn't keep your butt busy every minute of the day, you'd have all of them in trouble. And I thought to myself,
that's cute. That's so cute.
Yeah, he's right.
There's a man that knew his son right there.
Yes, and I couldn't argue with him. I knew he was right. So I've kind of been the Pied Piper when we've had, we had a group. We lived in a cul-de-sac before my first wife and I split, and all of the friends there, it was me that planned the river raft trips and the tubing trips and the camping trips. And, I've always been that guy that kind of led people to do things. And so, it's an interesting journey. I wouldn't change what I've done. I quit the only job I had in 1984. And as you said some of it, I've actually done several more radio shows than that, and I've done a few more TV shows than what show up in there. So that's an older bio. But I actually have made a whole lot of money. And then in 2000, I built an Adobe village with my wife, my current wife, and started in 2017, opened the doors in 2007, opened the doors in 2008. And then the market tanked and I lost everything. So I ended up going to Las Vegas to franchise a steakhouse, oldest steakhouse in Vegas. And I worked out there for several months, found out that the mob was still involved in it. I'm not going to name it, but I found out the mob was still involved in the steakhouse. So I walked away from that. And I worked in entertainment out there. I was actually homeless in Las Vegas in 2010.
You're kidding.
No.
When you were married, though, you and your wife.
I moved my wife in with her parents. I couldn't support her anymore. Yeah.
You're kidding me. Gosh, you guys have been through it and you've weathered the storm. This is soulmate stuff right here.
It is. So,
bless your heart. That's got to be just stopping right there for 1 second. as a man and a doer for God, right? That had to be not only like, what does it say, about pride? Like all of us have a little bit of it in us, but that just must have taken you down, I would imagine. But the strength in you that your dad knew you had, you fell back on that, huh?
Well, so let me tell you how God works here. Okay. I've always been integrity, honesty, doing for other people has always been paramount. Okay. So, but my mom passed away in 2007. And she said to me, Drew, people follow you. And she said, I wish you'd be an evangelist for Christ. And I said to her, I said, sorry.
No, you got me going.
I said, Mother, God and I are fine. We have a good understanding. There's a lot more people out there that need his help than me. Okay, now think about this. So that's my position. I said it'll never happen. So what did God do? A year later, I'm homeless. Year and a half later.
He put you in a position to rely on him.
Took me a while. So my wife's living in Arkansas with her parents, and I'm living in my car, and I couldn't afford a cell phone plan, so I used Wi-Fi. So I'd pull up outside of McDonald's, and I was tested. I mean, I was kidnapped out there. Guy told me that if I didn't help him do something to scam people, then, he'd take me down. And candidly, I was asking God to take me out because I still had life insurance, and I thought would probably be my highest, best use. But anyway, damn it, I hate when I do that.
We have a friend of ours, a producer, who one of our first shows, and he basically said, God burns couches. So when you're sitting around and do nothing, God will burn the couch and make you, if you think you're comfortable, he'll change that really quickly.
Yeah, exactly. So in there, some of the tests one night I would sleep in industrial parks in my car. So when I say I was homeless, I did live in a car. Okay. And I would go to McDonald's and I'd call my wife, and at different times I'd tell her I was mad at God because I know people, some of them even family, that do less than righteous things, and yet I'm the guy who's facing these challenges, right? And she would say to me in her way, now, Drew, that's just misplaced anger. He has a plan for you. And I'm like, we've got you in your folks' warm house, and I'm living in my cold car. One night, and this is just one example of many of the challenges that I went through. And it was tests. I realize now these were all tests of my resolve to see if I had what it took to do what I'm doing today. But one night I'm out in this industrial park, and on a post by a smoking section out by the roll-up door, I see a wallet. It's about 11 o'clock at night, and I would sleep in private properties so the police wouldn't bother me. Okay. You sleep on the side of the street, and they're going to come over and knock on your window. And anyway, so I get this wallet. Now I had no food, and I actually worked in a food bank because I'm handing food across to the table to people, but they let me take all the food I wanted home. So that's how I fed myself. Nobody knew I was homeless except my wife. Okay. So I'm in this industrial park, and I had very little gas. And I find this wallet. There's two $100 bills, and there's driver's license, credit cards, and all that stuff in there. So I walk around to the front of the building, and they open at 7 o'clock in the morning. Spent the night in that park behind the building. Next morning at 7:15, I walk around, and I don't remember exactly the lady's name, but I said, "Is Maria Gonzalez here or whatever?" And they said, "Can we tell her, who it is?" And I said, "Just tell her I have something she wants." And so she came out, and I handed her a wallet, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, where was it?" And I said, "It was on the post out back. I take it it's a smoking section." And she goes, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." And she opens it up, and she goes, "The money's still in it." I said, "It's not my money." Now, candidly, was I hoping she'd get change for $100 and peel me off a $20 bill? I was. She didn't. I survived. I'm still too fat today, but it was integrity tests like that God put me through for what I'm doing today. Now, let me tell you. So I raised my two sons mid-2011. They called me and they said, "Hey, we want to open an organic juice bar." And they were in San Antonio. And I said, "What the heck is organic juice?" And they sent me a picture of this green stuff. Looks like it comes out of the bottom of a lawnmower. in a bottle. And my older son had gotten into juicing for heavy metal toxicity. So anyway, they bought me an airline ticket home, and we spent a week juicing and got extraction rates, gathered all this empirical data, and then we hobbled together $18,000, did all the work ourselves, opened the first organic juice bar in Texas, and then opened 2 more in San Antonio, 1 in Frisco, 1 in Plano, and I was back on my feet.
What is it called?
And so sold out of them, it was called Juicer Heroes. So a couple of the stores are still open, but they're under different names. I sold out in 2016. But in having done that, and we did very, very well with it. And then we sold out in 2016, and we bought a big motorhome, and I told my wife, let's travel the country. And she said to me, Drew, knowing what you know, we've got grandchildren and children. And if we don't do everything we can to leave this country a better place for them, shame on us.
100%.
Voila, Americans United tour.
I actually agree. I am prepared for you today. I walked out of the house and I said to my dad, I need a pen. And he gave me a pen. And then I saw this one laying on the counter. And I was like, that's a sign. Yeah. And I grabbed it. It is the United States flag plan.
Yes.
And we do stand together in America, despite and regardless of what you're seeing in the news. Americans are tough, resilient, and united, and we will stand united.
Yeah. Yes.
And I love that name
in the main. And there were several iterations till we got there. And I'm also one of these guys that if you engage everyone in the process, then they all have a responsibility for it. So I'm not the autocrat. I mean, there was a time that if I didn't open the key to the door to my business, then nothing got done. But now I empower people as much as I can in everything that we do. And the army that God has been bringing to this thing has been incredible to me. But, one of the things, I don't know if y'all heard in the news, but in Kerrville, Texas, which is where I live, in February, we had a big ice storm.
Yes.
Okay. And it shut down the city for 8 days. Yes. Well, thank you. Well, it worked. But let me tell you what I did. We didn't have electricity in most places. We didn't have phone. We didn't have internet. The water was shut off in most places. But I got up every day and went and got in my truck. I have a 4-wheel drive truck. And I would go to people. And I've always been a guy that lends a hand. I've done that in my entire life. And I don't do it for fanfare. I do it because the giver always feels better than the receiver. So it's kind of selfish. Okay. But anyway, I would go out every single day and I would fill people's propane tanks and I would deliver food. I cooked a Thanksgiving dinner for people and just fed the people in the neighborhood. And I did things going out because it was doing, and you know what? Not a single time did I ask anybody what their political persuasion was. I didn't care what color they were. I didn't care where they came from, how much money they had, or anything. It really had nothing to do with it.
It doesn't.
That's the
and the Bible says
country.
The Bible says, whatever you do not do for the least of me, you do not do for me. And at some point in all of our lives, we have been the least of someone or something. Or like you said, you lived in your car. I've been through the fire. Bob's been through the fire. We have those moments. And there are people like yourself that are these angels on earth that come and bless us, and big or small or in between. And it's so necessary. And that's why that is the one thing, the 2 words that stuck out. And I've said this a couple times now on this podcast. When I visited your site, was that I have got it on my page, my notes here in huge writing and in quotes, that you foster unity. And I wish and hope and pray that someday our media will foster unity, and maybe this Americans Tour United can help them in seeing the impact when people can come together, what they can get done, as opposed to staying divided and in our homes and in fear. And we're not supposed to be fearful, but people in general can move mountains literally when they come together and unite on any given moment. So I love this. And then there's also the opportunity to make new friends, meet new people, Sorry, it's a delay.
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many if you look at, and this is kind of where how this has all evolved to. There's a guy working with us. His name is John Feist. He was the producer on the first 4 seasons of Survivor. Okay, won an Emmy for it. And so John is a lifelong friend of one of my partners.
One second. Did I not? This is how good God is. You don't even know this. You're coming into this episode after we pre-tape the beginning of the show. We pre-tape the beginning. And in the beginning, I mentioned that Russell Hant, who was on Survivor, reached out to me about a specific project that's somewhat similar to yours indirectly. But now you're talking about this, and that's how you know you're on the right path, is when God gives you these little tiny things that confirm, right? They confirm what you're doing is right. So anyway, go ahead. John Feist, he was the producer of the first 4 episodes of Survivor, or seasons.
Yes. So these are. And let me. I have to share something really quickly, and this is rewinding the tape a little bit. But when I talked about Sherry being my soulmate, her name is Sherry, and when I talk about that, when everyone but my children had abandoned me, and not Sherry's parents, but some of her friends said, "Get rid of that guy. He's a loser." Sherry said, I know that man. She and my son stayed with me. No one stuck with me, but no one else would. So anyway, that's
amazing.
Soulmate. So now yes, it is. So let me tell you, I want to talk about 2 things. I want to talk about stereotyping and tribalism. Okay. And so let me tell you, and there's studies out there that show within 8 seconds of you meeting somebody, you assign them 80% of their value through your eyes. Right, wrong, or indifferent. So I've known John Feist for about 4 years, and I've met him several times. He came in here last Wednesday, 1 week ago today, and we did a meeting about the messaging of this tour. And of course, he looked at me, and of course, he's seen me, and I'm in a cowboy hat, and I'm a Texan. And he said, "Drew, so you've got the far center right covered. Who is your counter on the far center left?" And I said, "John, what do you know about me?" He said, "Well, let's talk about abortion. You're probably totally against abortion and this, that, and the other." And I said, "To be honest with you, John, God didn't put me in charge of judging my fellow man. I think that abortion is a form of birth control, which is what it's used for too much. I think it's horrendous. I said, in cases of rape and incest, that's for the person and God to work that out. It's not my choice." He said, "Well, I agree with that." He said, "What's your position on the border wall?" I said, "I believe on immigration." I said, "I believe in immigration." I said, "It's what built this country." I said, "I believe inviting people to come over here to live off the backs of the people that are working with an open border that can bring in terrorists and everything else." I said, "I think it's abhorrent." And he goes, "Well, I agree there too." And we talked about 3 or 4 other things. And he said, "Well, you know what? You and I are aligned like this." I said, "Right, because we stereotype people and we should get to know people." And we also, I literally, in my prayers every day, I thank God that he didn't put me in charge of judging my fellow man. Yeah. So I do the best I can do every day. And it doesn't mean that I'm going to hang with people that I don't necessarily agree with philosophically. But I really don't judge anybody. That's between them and God. Okay. And that's where I stand. And it's very important because it's part of the framework of what we're doing. The other thing is tribalism. And Obama came out and said, we're too tribal and we shouldn't do that. And it's not true. We're innately tribal, but tribal doesn't mean racist. And it doesn't mean homophobic or xenophobic or all the phobics. What tribalism is, you put on a cowboy hat, we have something together. Right? So if you're from where you are, I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. If I walk into a room full of people and I see someone wearing a Cowboys jersey, that's a tribe. And we do that.
You identify with them.
Yes. That's what tribalism really is. Doesn't mean that we don't go and like other things, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, a tribe is to go in and it's the people that you're more aligned like. And there was actually there was 2 farmers here in Texas, and I'll find the study. many, many years, about 10 years ago. And their animals had never crossed, but they wanted to do an experiment talking about tribalism. And so he took a goat, a cow, and a horse from his ranch, and he took it to a ranch a few miles away a buddy is. And the guy had horses, cows, and goats, and he dropped his off. Within about 4 hours, the goat was with the goats, the cow was with the cows, and the horse was with the horses. It didn't mean that they didn't meet at the water trough together or at the feed trough together or do things.
Right.
But we do seek out people that we have commonalities with, and that's what a tribe is. And it's not a bad thing. And so we
Except
are
when I
wanting
walk in that
people-
room, I'll be wearing an Eagles jersey and you'll be wearing a Cowboy jersey. And then,
That's where the battle
I
comes
might have a
in.
Niners shirt on, but that's fine. I'll have a Niners shirt on, but I'll support you in Dallas.
That's totally different division.
I know.
We're division rivals.
Yeah.
Can I just make a little? Can I just make a?
But you know, there's some. Sure.
I wanted to make a little. I just wanted to point something out that how again I always say this, but God is in the details. I did not know you were going to show up with a hat on today.
I thought the devil was in the details.
God is in the details.
I always
Devil
say
is
the
too,
devil.
but I go with God's
They're both in
details.
the details, okay.
His
How do you know
details.
which details the devil? Which
Well, you
details
got to
God?
have. He says you'll know me by my voice. You haven't heard it yet.
Yes.
But we are inclusive. We're inclusive here, and you have, for those of you who are just listening, Drew Taylor has a black hat on, and I have a white hat on, and so God does this indirect way of bringing people together, right?
Okay, so you know what's funny? So if you watch all of American Western cinema, the black hats are the bad guys and the white hats are the good guys. When I was a while back, I was watching a show that was produced in Mexico. And all the good guys had the black hats, and all the bad guys had the white hats.
He's
Drew's
Drew's
gonna
getting
get
up.
his
He's
white
going to
hat,
get up. He's up. He's out of his seat.
All
People.
the gringos had the white hat, and they were the bad guys. There you go.
You are inclusive.
You know
You're
what?
Inclusive.
I hate to say this. You look better in the black hat.
I like for the show.
You don't look good as a Long Ranger.
Yeah, it looks great. You look great. Anyway, was a little.
Let me tell you. So the reason in the different hats, and I've got a straw over there as well. But a black hat, you lose more heat through your head than you do anything else. So black hat in the winter, the sun absorbs the heat and it keeps you warmer. And in the summer, you either wear a straw or you wear this is called a silver belly is the color of mine. And it's because it reflects the heat and stuff. And so that's the reason that you typically change them. But as my wife tells me, she goes, honey, you wear the black hat all the time because the ladies think you're sexy. It's
I really want to meet your wife someday. She sounds like a great one, an amazing woman.
I meant to say, when you were young and you were chasing money and girls, you really only need to chase money. The girls will come once you get the money.
Blah, blah, blah. So I want to ask you, because this tour, when does this tour kick off? How many cities have you booked? There are 3 days in each, I guess it says traveling 3-day festival. Tell us all the good.
When will you be in LA?
Yes, when will you be in LA? Because I would personally right now love to go to that one and open up with a prayer.
Well, so let me tell you, so that you know, and you'll see all this. Actually, if you haven't looked at our website since about 10 o'clock this morning, there's been some additional changes to it. And just so that folks, it's Americans, plural, UnitedTour.com. And so and there's a media kit at the bottom of it and stuff. So we launch in February 2022. Okay, and we're going to start in Florida. And we are going to be, Bo Duke from Dukes of Hazzard, John Schneider.
John Schneider,
right? Yeah.
Okay, so they are partners with us on this, along with a bunch of other people that the people that God's been bringing to me. And I'm not kidding you when I say that David, who's really, people describe us as I'm Walt Disney, he's Roy Disney. So I come up with ideas. I get the fun part of this. I come up with ideas. He gets everything done. But we kick off in February 2022, and then we're doing 50 cities in 53 weeks. Okay. And so we start in Florida, and then we'll be in California. I don't remember exactly when. We have like 3 dates in California, one in Las Vegas, one in Phoenix, in Arizona, but it's on our website, the dates and everything else. And listen to this. When we get into town on each week, when we roll into town, we've got a big commercial kitchen trailer, 53-foot trailer. And we're going to American Legion, or we're going to a VFW post, and we're feeding first responders, and we're feeding our militaries and our vets. We're celebrating them and anyone else who needs a meal. And then people come out to the event on Friday, and there's concerts and music and e-gaming and a car show and a cook-off and a big children's section where we're actually creating characters, and it's animals out of the woods that represent our culture and celebrates everyone together like they all do in the woods. And we're creating characters with morals and ethics and everything else, because children need the good to look up to. We're making our children at ridiculous ages make decisions that they're in my book, Raising Champions. I tell them there that, and I learned this being at the airport. Almost everything I've done, I'm big on situational awareness and watching strange things. I am a strange guy. My wife says I have a theme park in my head, and she's kind of right. So,
you know what? I have one too. So I'm tracking you. I'm tracking.
Yes. So I was in the airport one day, and I was watching this lady carry a very, very heavy bag, and she had a son, and he was just complaining about being hot and hungry or whatever, and he's about 15 years old. And my two boys are there, and at the time they were probably 8 and 10 years old. It was after I got them by myself. And my son said to me, Daddy, we wouldn't do that. We would just carry the bag. And I said, I understand. I said, but guys, in life, it's a parent's responsibility to not try to get them to carry a suitcase bigger than they can handle. And so, you tell children things in ways that they can understand, and it made sense to them. Today, we're trying to get kids to carry suitcases that they're incapable of handling. And they're going to fail miserably at it. And it's a disservice, not only as parents. You mentioned the media. Part of the reason we started our own media company is because we're going to do Walter Cronkite style news, and we will have liberal opinion. We'll have conservative opinion, no hate, no porn or any of that kind of stuff. But we need to get back to telling the truth to people instead of this agenda-driven narrative by our media. And I have to tell you, even some of them today, if you listen to Bill Maher and John Oliver and some of the others, they're even ashamed of the things that the media is doing. And not enough, but we're seeing a shift in that. And so we figured, because we'll be out there, we'll be belt buckle to belt buckle. I'm a cowboy. We'll be belt buckle to belt buckle with about 5 million people. And then we own a big digital marketing agency, and we figure we'll reach 50 million people a week through there. And then with our television shows, which are good, love of country television shows and everything else, I think that we can make a difference.
I actually know that you can make a difference. You've already made a difference in my life, knowing that something like this exists. And, if you go back and watch our very first episode, this is it was a 20-minute, just me, literally.
Soliloquy.
Yes. Talking about bringing people together and not being divided. And, like you said, the media is very good at that. And it's so important, especially during times like this. And what does God say? I prepared you for a time as this, such a time as this. And so this is his time, God's time. It's his story, history, right? And it needs to be preserved. And the sanctity of our children's purity, I believe, needs to be preserved. And like you said, when you give them too big of a suitcase to carry, they should just be worrying right now about schoolwork and playing on the playground and yes. That's what they should be worrying about. I remember going out and just playing outside and having fun and doing my work and schoolwork, but there's so many other entities, if you will, that are bogging them down, and kids are sick and losing hair and stressed out and getting gray hair at 10 years old. And it's like, This event sounds like so much fun. The only thing I'm disappointed about it is that it's not coming to Los Angeles. So I'm going to either have to get in a car and go to Vegas or go to Arizona, because I'm going to be at one of those events.
We'll be in Orange County. We're going to Pocono. Look on the tour. We have 3 California dates. Yes.
I'm in. And I would love to open up with a prayer if I can.
Absolutely. We will absolutely let you do that. So listen to this then. So we concerts on Friday and stuff, car shows and everything else on Saturday, racing Saturday night, Cowboy church Sunday morning. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I'm writing all this down. Cowboy church. I've been to every kind of church except for a cowboy church. So
I'm telling you. So let me tell you something. Cowboy church is non-denominational. It celebrates God and Christ and him dying on the cross for us. And it is I've been to them. So let me share 2 experiences. Okay. One of them is first time we met John and Alicia. John Schneider and his wife Alicia was in a little town called New Boston. And it's been about 2 months ago. First time we met them face to face, and been about 2 months ago. And New Boston is a little town celebrating their 50th anniversary. Okay. 5,000 residents, about 2,500 people show up to this fair festival 2 months ago. Okay. We're still in the COVID deal. There was 2 or 3 masks out of 2,500 people. Were blacks, whites, Asians, thin, fat, tall, young, old. People were out there hanging out there shoulder to shoulder, celebrating the best of this country. It was one of the most heartwarming things. Okay. David and I drove from where we are in Kerrville to Ringgold, Georgia, 19 hours last Thursday. And then we spent 30 hours with them. And then we drove 16 hours back on Sunday. And we went to a little dirt car racetrack. And I am telling you, and it was the first of John and Alicia's what they call extravaganza events. Okay, where there was cars racing. John and Alicia actually race. There's pyrotechnics and demolition derbies and concerts and people hanging out. There's very wealthy people. I said there was millionaires hanging out with mechanics, and you couldn't tell who was who. We just knew because we know some of our partners. And I am telling you, the matter of fact, we picked up one of the vendors that's going to be going with us, and we didn't pick her up because we're trying to meet some quota or something. We picked her up because as we go around to the different cities we're going to, we're pulling in the food vendors and everything else from the local community. So we are taking a couple with us, but it's specialty items that most communities don't have. Well, this young lady her son made it into Juilliard, and she makes a variety of different lemonade drinks. Okay. And we loved her and her spirit and her story and the reason she's doing what she's doing. And so she's going to be joining this tour with us. And so we're literally inviting anyone and everyone who loves this country to come and celebrate the best of it with us. And we think through doing that, sit down with beer and a barbecue and celebrate all the things that we agree on, and the things that we don't necessarily agree on, we can either work those out or come to an impasse and agree to disagree. But that's what this country has done most of its life. But the media is mission driven to drive us apart.
And it's a great name for a show, Beer and a Barbecue.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. That'll be our next podcast, Beer and Barbecue.
Okay. I just see you, Bob, in your man cave, with your beer and your barbecue.
My man cave.
I know, right? Well, listen, and what if it's just 3 days of not talking about anything other than fellowshipping and enjoying each other's company and having a great time? And like you said, agreeing to disagree is okay. Yes. We have lost the art of communication. We're not just about this. This can't be what it's about. iPhone, iBook, iPad, I, me. No, it's about you and others and our neighbor. And I'm so excited about this event that I just might show up at all 3, Orange County, Arizona, and Texas.
You need to.
Vegas. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I've been a moms in prayer leader for 18 years, and it's not, we don't just pray for, the people that know God and you pray for all walks of life, all it's community based. And I love that you are pulling in the vendors in the communities, because you're also creating jobs, you're creating awareness of their companies. You're doing good, and I love it. I just love it. I'm excited about this. I'm going to get more cowboy hats and wear a different color every day.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? I can tell you that, and you'll appreciate this. I don't sleep much. I never have. And I haven't used an alarm clock since I was 5. And when the mission began to come clearer for this whole thing about 3 months ago, I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night and I'm dead to the world. You could burn the house down around me. Okay. I'm a real sound sleeper for about the first 4 hours. And then I usually wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, and I still do that. But in the old days when I'd do that, I'd kind of doze back off and usually get up about 4:30, 5 o'clock, have a coffee and kind of start my day. Well, with this tour, I started waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning. My wife could tell that I was awake the rest of the night. And then I'd get up about 4 o'clock. I come to the office typically between 4 and 5 in the morning. But my wife would say to me, honey, why don't you just get up when you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning? And she said, because you're not going to go back to sleep. You have too much on your mind. And I told her, I said, Sherry, let me tell you something. When I wake up at 2 in the morning, I go through in my mind the mountain I've got to climb. And I'm petrified. Because what if I screwed this up? And now it isn't me. Part of the beauty of this is there's such a team here that if God took me out tomorrow, this show will go on, And I said, so what I do is I spend the first 2 or 3 hours fortifying myself for the battle so that I can go out and do what I need to do that day.
You know what? I actually wrote a song and I'm in the process of recording it, and it's called The Armor of God. And it's about the helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, the sword of the Spirit, the belt of truth, and the sandals of peace. And I tell people, yeah, it's a good one. But if, most of us, I've said this before, we get up and to your point, we get up and we put our underwear on, our bra, our shirt, our whatever, and our cowboy hat. And I say, before your feet hit the ground and you put those items on, you put the armor on. Because like you said, you got to be dressed for it and you have to prepare yourself for what's to come. And I've noticed the days that I do prepare myself, things kind of repel, bounces off the armor. But the days that I forget, I'm hit hard. And it's not to say that you're not going to ever get hit hard, but there is a difference. And so I love that. And perhaps maybe God wakes you up early, Drew, so that you can have that time to do that. That's a special time.
Yeah. It is. It really is. Yeah. And I'm thankful for that. I can tell you on this journey, and I believe it'll be my life's work, but it is the most humbled. I'm the most humbled, and it's the most honorable thing. I'm honored to be doing what I'm doing today. It's awesome.
And so this Americans United tour is 50 states, 50 weeks. You can go on the site, AmericansUnitedTour.com, and you can purchase tickets on the site.
You will be able to starting in November. Right now, it's just really for information. And so we haven't done a big splash announcement or anything else, but we are, we've got pretty significant companies that's the other thing we're seeing happen. A bunch of America's iconic companies are coming together and kind of laying aside their differences to support this thing. And it's, it further verifies or validates for us that we are doing the right thing,
Let me ask you something, Drew.
And the mission is bigger than money.
Did you? Oh,
yes.
Well, that's it. And have you seen the documentary called The Jesus Music?
I have not.
Okay, it just got released. It's out here. I just watched it. I was talking a little bit about it in the pre-show, but Michael W. Smith, Michael W. Smith, right?
Sure.
He said in this documentary, he said, I woke up in the middle of the night and God said, I heard an audible voice and God said, you need to do this. And he basically said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And then a couple weeks later, he said, hey there, Michael, I really want you to do this. And he goes, no, God, I'm just not doing it. And I think it was like the third time he said, I need you to do this. And then Michael said, okay, I'm going to do it. And you know what it ended up being? And he talks about it in this documentary. It ended up being probably, in my humble opinion, his greatest work in songs. But he pulled all kinds of people together and he ended up doing this big concert. I forget the name of it. And he said there were times when, and I'm sure you felt like this, that's why I'm telling you this. There were times when I was just like, what do we do next? And it would just happen. And, if
Oh,
God
yeah.
is about it and for it, he will bring all that you need, and it'll blow your mind.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's
Oh,
like
yeah.
Kevin Costner said in Field of
No,
Dreams, if you build it, they will come.
He didn't say it. The voice said it to him, but
Right.
No, I
exactly.
have to tell
Sorry.
you. Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, you saying that, and I have to tell you, I've told David at different times, and I'm not a guy that worries about that. I can't be thrown off very easily, and I don't get real upset or whatever. I'm a pretty adamant guy, but I told David for a long time, as every time we would identify some need, literally within 24 or 48 hours, someone from out of the blue would come to us, that all of a sudden it was fixed. And I told David, I said, you know what, David, I don't know exactly what to do. I almost need a one of those straight suits they put crazy people in, because I'm so heightened. I'm out of my skin. I don't do that anymore. But it was really a crazy feeling, because this is so exhilarating.
Well, it's like the Holy, I always say this, I'll probably get lambasted for it, but I call it the Holy Spirit high.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah.
It's just, do you have the words, by the way, for Mr. Taylor? Well, I'm very, very excited about this. I really do I'm committing to one of the events. I don't know which one it'll be. If not, hopefully I can be at all of them. And maybe I'll have that song produced in time and I can come open up. Who knows?
Please do that. We'll put you on the stage, young lady. Yeah. You know what? I will tell you one other thing. And it kind of told us that we were picking the right partner with John and Alicia. When he was at that first event that we went to, and all those people out there, he said, something I want y'all to do for me right now. And it was funny because we're in New Boston, Texas, a little bitty town, and 80% of the phones were flip phones, right?
Yes.
And he said, I want all you folks out there, look to your left and your right, pick someone you don't know and change phone numbers with them. And remember that you met here today.
I love that.
Yeah. Yep.
That reminds me of that scene in God's Not Dead, where they have the film or the phones and they text someone, God's not dead.
Yeah.
First, I want to say this before we kind of wrap up. Thank you for sharing your story. That's humbling, and it's, when you can identify and you have a commonality, like we discussed with someone. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that have been in your position, and you are so encouraging and comforting at the same time. We're all just people, and we all have a test that becomes our testimony and a mess that becomes our message.
Yeah.
And to be able to share it and turn our pain into our purpose is a big deal. And also you become very vulnerable, which is kind of where God wants us, right? He wants us to kind of need him and desire him. And so thank you. We do have 3 questions that we end every show with.
Okay.
And so the first one is, Bob, I wish you could see Bob's face. He's smiling at me. When are you going to say, I love Cory? What?
I'm smirking.
He's smirking. Yes.
I love Bob.
Oh, I was so close.
I know.
So close.
Um,
On the wall, right there. Read it.
yes. I have to have notes around here because I am dyslexic. 3 words that describe you.
You should have read it. Words 3 that you describe.
3 words that describe you. And if you want, you can do Sherry too, because I love Sherry. I have not met her, but my heart is for Sherry because she reminds me of that song, Stand By Your Man.
Yes.
She certainly has done that.
Tammy Wynette?
Yeah, I think so,
there you
yeah. But 3 words that describe you, Drew Taylor.
Okay, well, you may find this funny, but the first one is misunderstood. Most of my life, people, and to this day, don't really know who I am. And more or learning, I will tell you, I didn't tell anyone I was homeless until about a year ago. I didn't share that with anyone. And I felt like I needed to because it gives people hope. So misunderstood. I like to think I'm a giver. I'll give of myself more than for myself, and I always have. And it's as I say that, most people, because of how I carry myself and the things that I do, even when I was homeless and I had no money and I had nothing, people thought that I was really well off and had everything. And the third would be loyal. I'm extremely loyal to people that are loyal to me.
Amen. That's a, in my opinion, very number one, that a lot of people don't. Well, it's a much needed.
Can't find the right words.
It's a much needed in our society.
It's a much needed in our society.
It's a much needed word.
You found those words.
I know.
They're the right ones.
I know, Bob. Thank you for pointing that out. Mr. Taylor, we have a word association game test.
Yes.
And
You're so
so and I have words here. So I'm going to say the word and you're just going to give me the very first word that comes to your mind, which I cannot believe this is the first word that you wrote. You're not going to believe the first word that he
set
wrote.
him up. Just say it.
Okay. Loyalty.
Love.
Unity.
Paramount.
Invention.
Edison.
Good one. Good one.
You know the story of Edison when he was sent home from school, and then when his mother read the note to him aloud, and then he read it.
Yes. Incredible, right? Isn't that incredible? My mom did the same thing for me, by the way.
Yes.
Freedom.
America.
Good one. Beautiful. Charity.
Responsibility. We're all responsible for being charitable, first and foremost.
Amen. That's great. Children.
Joy. Let me tell you something.
I was thinking blessing.
And I do to this day. It is, exactly. If you can look at life through the eyes of a child.
Oh. Well, that's what God wants us to do. He says childlike faith.
It is. Yeah. And I live that every day of my life. And it doesn't mean that I don't deal with hard things, because I do, and I take them head on. But I live my life with, I'm not kidding. My wife will tell you, he jumps out of bed every day and goes, ta-da! And I do.
So do I. We got to have that rub off on you, Bob. So I have one last word, and it's Texas.
Okay.
Texas.
Home.
That's beautiful. And then my last question
I was born here.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay. You were born in Texas and raised in Texas, and you're not ever leaving Texas.
I'm not leaving here until they take me out horizontally.
That's it. Well, what I was going to say is I was born here, and because I franchised, and I've been not all over the world, but different parts of the world, and all over I've been to 47 of the 50 states, and Texas is, yeah.
That's where my dad wanted to move.
Okay, so
he's like, let's go to Texas. So my last question is, we usually ask who your celebrity crush is. I know it's not. You're right. We actually asked who your celebrity crush is, but it doesn't have to be a crush. It can be who inspires you right now, who's motivating you, just somebody that is inspirational.
So there's so much more to this story, but I would say Sherry, my wife.
I love Sherry.
The one you never met?
Yeah, I do. Listen, I've gone through 2 divorces. People know this. I'm not going to go into the whole thing because it's not a sob story. God is in everything, and God's rejection is God's protection. But when I hear stories like yours, where somebody has left you through, or has stayed with you through the times when they could have left, and that to me is actually embodies God. He never leaves us or forsakes us. And so she was obviously is a direct descendant and has shown you that. It was like he gave you someone on earth to show you that love. And that's a beautiful thing. And so
Sherry has brought me more to God with me kicking and screaming than anybody in my life. Okay.
Love it. Well, Sherry, you know what? I'm going to say this right now. Sherry Taylor, this show is devoted to you and dedicated to you and all that you have been and done. We give thanks for you and your life and your patience and your kindness. And I don't even know you, your loyalty and the gift of loving unconditionally. We thank you. And
yes,
I am thankful for you today, Mr. Taylor, for taking your time. And I will see you on the road for sure.
You got it. Can we please keep in touch? And I'd like to get you. I do a show on finance and cryptocurrencies, but we do special, and I'd love to get you on my show. And it won't be
I would
an
love
hour
to do that.
show. Yeah, it won't be an hour-long show,
Okay.
but it'll be a packed 8 minutes. 8-minute segment.
Sounds good.
Yes. So this has been just amazing. Sherry gives me a hard time because she says, you don't cry at tragedy and that kind of thing. She said, but you are the biggest sap I've ever met. And I say, yes, I am.
Well, I think you met your match here because I get it.
You're pretty sappy.
Yeah, I know. Well, yeah. God is good. We thank you and we bless you, and we look forward to connecting again really soon. So thank you.
Yes, very good. Thank y'all both so much. Hey, and I have to tell you, I love you kicking in there, Bob. You're sitting there he's the guy in the shadows that, throws the darts and the daggers.
The man behind the curtain.
Thank you.
I'm very good at throwing daggers from behind a curtain. And we're out.
The Coriolis Effect is produced by Jazz Productions. Producers Cory Oliver and Bob Victor. Host Cory Oliver. Editor Bob Victor. And assistant editor Kate Bonsall.
Hi guys, I'm Cory Oliver, and thank you for watching The Coriolis Effect. We hope you enjoyed the previous episode. Here are some more episodes you might enjoy. Hit the subscribe button below, and have a great day.